You are listening to the Take a Step podcast, where we help growth minded young professionals live every day on purpose. My name is Josh Johnston, and today is going to be a little bit of a unique episode. So I was sitting back the other day and really just doing some thinking on why I really like certain brands, like why I feel like I have a sense of loyalty to different companies and feel like I'm honestly a part of certain companies, even though I have nothing to do with them except consuming their products. And I kept coming to the same answer. It's because I know everything about them. I feel like they've invited me into their story. And I feel like that because they showcase everything. There's nothing unclear about what they do, who they are, the story behind how they got to where they are today. So honestly, today, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to give a little bit of a backstory to how Take a Step started, where it came from to where it's at today, exactly what we do. I have people ask all the time, what is it you guys exactly do? Because they see all the content, they see everything I talk about, but have questions about what we do. Well, I want to show everything, the whole 9 yards of where we came from, where we're at today, what we do, the vision we have for the future, and what we stand for. And if you guys enjoy this, if you like this kind of content, please reach out to me and let me know, because I love to continue giving what people resonate with. So with that said, hope you guys enjoy it. Let's take a step. What's up, guys? So I'm looking forward to having this conversation today, where we're really just kind of pulling back the curtains and looking behind the scenes at what's going on with the Take a Step brand as a whole, what's going on with the company, what are we actually doing to this day to actually, produce revenue and have a business. Because a lot of people, I get asked all the time by so many, what is it you guys actually do? I see a lot of the content and everything, but what do y'all actually do? Today, we're going to talk about that a little bit, and I hopefully that provides a little bit of clarity, a little bit of resonance, and hopefully some buy-in from the community. Because it's easy for me to say, being the person who's building the business, but I have so much passion and I see the impact that we get to have on a daily basis, and would love to have the buy-in from everybody that has some sort of level of of connection to the brand. So hopefully we can provide that today. But I'd love to get it kicked off just with a little bit of backstory on, where the brand has come from to where it's at today. Some of you may have heard this before, but for those of you that haven't, I'd love to just kind of peel back the curtain for you a little bit. So if you are brand new to this, my name's Josh Johnston. I'm the founder and CEO of Take a Step. I started the company back at the very beginning, literally January 1st, 2023. I was at a point in my life where I was almost 4 years into a corporate career that I was building, that was quite honestly based on the world's definition of success. I played baseball through college, graduated in the heart of COVID. COVID canceled my senior year, and at that point in my life, I had a pretty clear path to play professional baseball, and COVID kind of threw a wrench in those plans, and was left trying to figure out, okay, well, I didn't really know who I was without baseball. Honestly, I was having a little bit of a identity crisis, and I was asking myself, what do I do now? Because baseball was all I didn't know who I was outside of a baseball player. So for me, it was I was a big approval guy, a big validation seeker growing up, and I wanted to have the approval of everyone around me in order for me to do anything. And in my world, my dad worked in corporate America. All my friends' dads worked in corporate America. It's what, I was a business major, so it made the most sense based on my major. So with all that in mind, I said, you know what? Corporate seems like it makes the most sense. So I said, I'll get an entry-level job, maybe work my way up. If I don't like a company, I'll find a better company. So that's exactly what I did. I jumped into the corporate world in a sales role. Was selling print advertising. Literally, that company was partnered with publishers of game programs and team yearbooks at all the major Division I and professional sports organizations. And they printed the programs, and we sold advertising space throughout those programs. So I would reach out, literally cold calling. I was making 150 to 200 cold calls a day. I had a script that we memorized, rehearsed on repeat every single day. Calls were recorded. The goal was to get out 20 pitches a day. Hopefully those 20 pitches led to one sale, and that was literally every day on repeat. You had your phone, your computer, showed up at 8 o'clock, made cold calls throughout the day, left at 5 o'clock. And some of you are like, how did you do that? Well, it was it was a lot more fun when you were doing well at it. When you weren't doing well at it, it was, I don't know how anyone does that, but I was fortunate enough to see a little bit of success in that role. And to be honest, like financially, things look good. But at the same time, so burnt out, so just unfulfilled with the work I was doing, and came to a point to where, honestly, at that point in my life, I was a huge victim. I love pointing the finger and blaming anything but myself. So I was like, you know what? It's the company's fault. I feel like it's, the way it's run. I had a great boss, immediate boss, like still really good friends with the guy to this day. But the way the company was running as a whole, I just felt like it was kind of micromanaged. And, I pointed the finger at the company saying it's their fault. They're not giving me exactly what I want. I'm not being managed like I want. And so I was like, you know what, I'll find a better company. So I went to a bigger company, had better culture, had, all better benefits, a better growth trajectory for what my career was going to be. So I said, you know what, that probably makes the most sense. So jumped ship, went over to the bigger company. And I said, they're going to solve all my problems. They're going to give my family better security and just long-term planning. And which is, I feel like that's a decision that a lot of people make, or it's just kind of a habitual decision-making pattern that a lot of people make, is what's going to be the most secure for me in my future. And what that led me to was the exact same feeling. About almost 2 years into that role, again, finances were continuing to grow. So every other Friday when the paycheck came in, things felt good, things felt comfortable. But the 13 days leading up to that felt like I had no purpose, felt like I was, just a pawn to this organization. If I left, then they wouldn't really have any care in the world whatsoever. I'd just get replaced the next day. If my pay wasn't tied to what I was talking about on a daily basis, then I would, I couldn't care less about what I was actually talking about. But, everyone makes decisions on, what's going to financially make the most sense. And for me, that led me to that same feeling of just like so much unfulfillment. And I was starting to lead to this life where I jump ship, figure something out, get that dopamine hit where it's something new, it's paying well, but that only lasts so long. And I think a lot of people who might be listening to this right now find themselves in those shoes where they've been making the same decision, hoping that it's going to solve their problem, but they keep coming back to the same result. And that's the definition of insanity, right? If you're going to make the same decision over and over and over, expecting a different result, you're quite literally insane. But that's where I was. That's the kind of the path I found myself in. At that point, I was again, finances looked great, but I would show up at 5:00 every single day, actually later than 5:00, because I had to sit in the amazing Atlanta traffic driving back home every day. So really it was like 6 or 6:30, and I get home and was honestly just a lousy version of myself for my wife and not the future father that I wanted to be for my future family. And I kept on saying to myself at that time in my life, man, I've got to take a step and do something for myself. I was, that's the phrase that kept coming to my mind. And it hit me one day where I'm like, God, there might be some legs behind that. Cause at that point in my life, I was a big personal development and self-help junkie. Like I loved all the books, the podcasts. I would consume any bit of content I could when it came to personal development. I loved the idea of entrepreneurship, but I was too scared to actually do something for myself. I was a big fitness guy. I love kind of the ripple effect that taking action on your physical health and how that translated into your personal life, just the discipline that comes from that. So I loved fitness. I was a big relationships guy. I loved investing into relationships during college and shortly after college, and especially just this whole phase of building Take a Step has really been a spiritual journey at the same time, because it's all based on, making faith-based decisions rather than fear-based decisions. Every decision you make is based in one of two categories. It's either faith or fear. Fear keeps you stuck where you are, and faith allows you to actually move forward because you don't need every answer. And that's what this journey of building Take a Step has been a faith-based decision journey. So that's at that phase, it was, hey, what's the easiest first step to maybe do something for myself? Where on January 1st, 2023, it was starting the Instagram page. It was literally going and making sure that there was no brand called Take a Step. Made this little crappy design in Canva. This isn't the design I made. This is actually, I had a brand designer that I know do a full brand deck for me. But at that point, it was going into Canva. If you guys remember the original logo, then thank you for supporting for as long as you have. But let's be honest, it was a pretty crap design. but I thought it was great. It was the first thing I made for it. So started posting content, just like talking head videos on things I was reading, things I was listening to, things I was applying in my life, and what it was doing for me. And you look back, I never deleted those videos. So if you want to go to the Take a Step page and scroll all the way back, you'll see some of the most cringeworthy content you could find. But here's the beautiful thing about that. It has to start there. No matter what you start in life, if it's stepping back into the gym for the first time, if it's making a transition when it comes to your career, if it's wanting to post content for the first time, if it's, building new relationships, you're never going to be perfect at something when you first start, but you have to be willing to embrace the suck and go through days, weeks, months, sometimes even years of not being good at something so that you can perfect it and grow and pivot and iterate and continue to move forward. And that's what this whole journey has been, is taking that first step and posting a video on Instagram. And then that was January 1st, 2023, and just did that over and over and over and over. And at the end of 2023, launched the Take a Step podcast. And that podcast literally started the same way. It was me buying a $10 mic off Amazon, writing verbatim what my script was going to be into Apple Notes, reading that into GarageBand. And I found out that, in order to put a podcast on Spotify and Apple Music, you just needed a hosting service, which I paid a $10 membership for. So it was my $10 Amazon mic, reading my notes off Apple Notes into GarageBand, and posting that on that hosting service, with which they would ship it out to the Spotifys and Apple Musics of the world. And that's how the podcast started. That started at the end of 2023. And then that continued to grow, continued to post content, was coming out with a podcast. I believe at that time it was every other week, every other Friday. Now it's every Friday, which started about a year ago, but was posting every other Friday the podcast, and just did that with consistency. And, it started to get a little bit better over time. It still wasn't at all where I wanted it to be, but my focus throughout this whole process, which is coined the mission statement for Take a Step, which is to redefine the way we view success by shifting our focus from a destination to a process. And for me, it was, what process can I fall in love with every day despite the result? And it was that. I love talking about personal development. I loved, bringing other people into this message of how are we waking up every day and pursuing the best version of ourselves when it comes to our personal growth, our professional growth, our spiritual growth, building relationships around with people that love having those conversations as well. And that's what was happening as I continued to post content consistently. So throughout 2023, continue to do that, post content, post the podcast on a consistent basis. In 2024, I started writing a newsletter as well called The Weekly Mile. All of this, by the way, you can find on the Take a Step website. It's letstakestep.com. So if you want to find anything when it comes to the podcast, the newsletter, any of my social media, any of our other offerings, which I'll get to in a second, you can find on the Take a Step website, letstakestep.com. So continue to do that. And throughout 2024, just focused on building the brand, and grew it a little bit in my personal network. And to be honest, there's still a lot that I want to grow from here. Like if you look at my Instagram page, I mean, I have a little over 500 followers on the Take a Step page and a little over 1,000 on my personal page. And I'm not shying away from that. Like you look at personal brands that have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of followers. I can look at that and be like, what am I doing having spent 3 years, but this is my following right now, which is what a lot of people probably say behind the scenes about me. But at the end of the day, it's not about the destination. Like I want to build this community of people that realize that it doesn't matter what the destination is, but I love the work I get to do on a daily basis. And I think if people can find fulfillment in that, they'll realize that they'll actually see the results that they're looking for, because they're actually doing the one thing that's going to generate the results, and that's taking the actions. So that's what I did throughout 2023, 2024. And then in 2025, I got to a point to where, okay, I built a little bit of an understanding for what I'm trying to build here. Now, how do we actually build a business model where we can make a little bit of money off of it? And the first thing that made sense to me was, let's throw an event. Let's get a bunch of people out. Let's call it a personal development workshop. Get a bunch of like-minded guys that know what I'm doing, that have reached out about, ways that they can get involved. And so I said, hey, we're going to throw an event. I believe it was February 1st, 2025. And I had a couple guys I know in the leadership space that wanted to come and speak at it. So we just kind of facilitated conversations, had speakers come, did a workout at the end. It was a great time. And I said, it was one of those moments for me where it's like, if I can do more of this, then life is going to be fantastic. And so that's where it started as far as actually producing revenue for the first time. And did another one in the second quarter of that year. It was either April, I believe it was May. And then at the end of May, going into June of 2025, we launched the Tribe. And the Tribe has been a foundational piece of the brand for the past almost year now, which is our men's leadership community, all around bringing guys together that want to surround themselves with like-minded guys that are going to challenge them and hold them to the highest standard. We have a goal-setting framework that everyone works through. Everyone's connected on our online community, where we put everyone in groups. You have a monthly call with that group. Every quarter, we have an in-person workshop at Hugh Fitness, which is John Sarzuski's gym, who's my business partner at Take a Step out here in Woodstock, just north of Atlanta. And the Tribe, we want to focus on building those relationships and building the community with proximity. So in the metro Atlanta area, our goal, just to be transparent, our goal is to get it to 100 members. We have about almost 50 in it right now of men in their 20s and 30s, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of guys in the sales world, but really people that just want to surround themselves with growth minded guys that are going to hold them to a high standard on their personal, professional, and spiritual growth. But like I said, our goal is to get it to 100 members, cap it, and then really kind of perfect that model here and perfect our process, and then find the next location, find a good partner in that area that wants to launch the next Tribe chapter in that new area, and then kind of grow that way with finding good markets for young growth-minded guys that want to get involved with a community and invest into those relationships. So that's kind of our plan for the Tribe moving forward. But right now, yeah, we get guys in. We have a call once a month, in-person workshop every quarter, and then we have a bunch of opportunities for guys to connect throughout the month. So we do a hike once a month. We'll get together on Fridays at the gym. We'll do workouts at 1:30 on Fridays for anyone that can make it. We'll do a Bible study call on Thursday morning. So really just creating opportunities for like-minded guys to connect and do things that they would naturally be doing anyways, but building relationships at the same time with people that are actually going to add value mutually. So it's been really, really fulfilling to watch that grow. So that's one of our foundational pieces. And it's the way we want to grow, being in proximity and not just having this online community where people can join from wherever, because I don't feel like that builds genuine connections. I want people that are going to do life shoulder to shoulder, that want to be invested into those people that are in proximity to them, because I think that's what's going to actually build those relationships. And I want that to be the way we grow. So it's going to take longer for that to grow, but I think it's going to add more value in the long run because you're creating genuine connections, like I said. So that's for the Tribe. Outside of that, where was I? Launched that in summer of 2025. We had 10 guys that raised their hands and was like, yeah, I'd love to be a part of that. Started with that, grew throughout the course of 2025. Coming into this year, we had about 40 guys. Now we're almost at 50 guys, and the goal is to get it to 100 by the end of this year. So if you want details on that, if you're in the Atlanta area and that sounds like something you'd be interested in, then please reach out. Would love to give you the opportunity to get plugged in and join that community. But if you're not in Atlanta and that might be something that you wanted to launch in your area, then reach out to us as well, because we're soon to look for some markets on where we want to launch the next chapters on building those Tribe hubs around the US. So that'll be fun to watch that grow over the next few years. So outside of the Tribe, today, our focus is, like I said, the Tribe. We have one-on-one coaching that we do. So I specifically work with some college guys doing one-on-one coaching where we work through the same curriculum, the same goal setting process that our guys in the Tribe work through. We also work with some guys that are just young professionals that want that goal setting, that accountability, making sure they're following through on what they say they're going to do. So we offer coaching for that as well. One thing we're pushing hard right now, which I'm really, really excited about, are leadership development workshops. So going into both companies and also going to colleges and putting on an event where we're helping people really clarify their desired future, get clear on who they want to become, and building out the right habits, setting the right goals, and taking the right actions now that are aligned with that future desired self. So those are the workshops we're putting on, going out to companies, working with young sales teams, young project management teams, really just developing the next generation of professional leaders. And then also go into colleges, where I was when I was later on in college, my junior and senior year, I was at a point where I never really clarified what that was for myself. I was, like I said, at the very beginning when I started this podcast, I was at a point where I was very focused on making decisions based off what the world defines success to me, rather than actually defining it for myself. And that's what I really want to help guys do, is get clear on who you want to become. What does success mean to you? And how can you make decisions right now that are in line with that vision for yourself? Because a lot of people set goals and they marry themselves to that goal. The point of a goal is not to get fixated on that goal itself. The goal could shift. Like as you take actions, that the target could change, because you could figure out something that you do a lot better that could actually move the goalpost further, or you can realize that you're doing something that actually you hate. And why would you continue to do something you hate to reach a goal that you set based off of something that you thought you liked originally? So the goal is not something we marry ourselves to. So what's the purpose of a goal? Well, the purpose of a goal is to give you clarity in the decisions that you're making right now. So if my goal this year, like my personal goal this year, is to run a 100-mile ultramarathon, I have the date for it set out. And what that does for me right now is say, hey, this is the training plan. This is what you need to do to continue to move the target that is going to progressively get you to that goal. But if I start that training program and I realize, hey, I actually think that it would serve me a lot better to make it more in the aesthetics, part of my life, part of my fitness, then maybe that's something I need to pivot. But why would I marry myself to a goal just to force myself to do it if it's not something that's actually serving the person I want to become? So that's a big focus, is let's realize that the goals give us clarity in making decisions right now. And that's one of the things that we want to do through this workshop, is help people focus on the one thing that generates the results, and that's taking the actions now. So the other thing that we have going on right now with the brand Take a Step is our apparel line. I want to build this terminology, but I would love the apparel line to be called Stepwear. And we have a website already built out through MMP Customs, who is my apparel vendor. And if you guys are in a space where you need apparel made, reach out to MMP Customs. Nathan Mooney is the owner. He's one of my really, really good friends, but that's a relationship that's been amazing to grow and work alongside him, as he's done all of my apparel since I started getting it made. And that's something that I would love to grow. I see that for the future being something where, hey, it's that athleisure type apparel where you can, wear something that's comfortable, that's casual, but also looks clean. And I would also love to have more in the performance wear as well, whether if it's running apparel, workout apparel, so things that you can wear, that is, whether if you're at work, at the office, going for a run, going to the gym, going out on a Sunday. I think there's a lot that you can do when it comes to that athleisure type wear, and that's what I would love Stepwear to be about. And then the last thing that we have that we're doing now and continuing to grow are the community events. So the hike I mentioned for the tribe, that's the one thing that is open invite. We have that as just like, hey, if you want to come get surrounded with like-minded guys on a consistent basis, then come on out to a hike. Come on out on a Saturday morning, get surrounded with some good dudes, have some good conversation. And I think that's a really cool way to get people connected with the brand for the first time. And but outside of that, there are a ton of other events that we want to work towards. I would love to start hosting races, like a Take a Step 5K, Take a Step 10K, even a Take a Step marathon, maybe even a Take a Step ultra marathon. Having opportunities for people to quite literally take that step forward and continue to grow, continue to focus on their personal growth and development through events. And I think races are a great platform to do that through. Would love to do golf tournaments, would love to do networking events, but just different events to activate the community and bring people together that are like-minded. So in a nutshell, that's what we're all about. I'd love to also just I have a document of just like a brand DNA for who we are. And I'd love to read that, because I don't want there to be anything that's left unclear about who Take a Step is and what Take a Step is about based on this podcast. So real quick, just some notes I have. What is Take a Step? To explain it as best as I can, so many driven individuals find themselves stuck waking up each day, just kind of going through the motions. So at Take a Step, we help growth-minded young professionals take action on their personal, professional, and spiritual growth so they can live every day on purpose. What's our mission statement? Well, I said that a second ago. Take a Step exists to redefine the way we view success by shifting the focus from a destination to a process. What's the core problem we solve? What is the one thing that if we could sum it all up into one word, what's that problem? Well, it's stagnation, feeling stuck, going through the motions, spinning your tires, being unfulfilled with what you're doing, settling for good enough. All of that encapsulates that mindset of I'm stagnant with my life. I feel like I'm stuck. I feel like I'm not actually going anywhere. I'm just waking up every single day and coasting, going through the motions. So what causes that? What causes the problem of stagnation? Well, it's fear. It's fear of comfort, fear of needing a perfect plan, fear of the opinions of others, fear of being insecurity, which is where I found myself in my corporate career. So how do we solve that? How do we overcome that fear? Well, it's action. There's so many people stay stuck in their current life because they don't want to actually go do anything because the fear is holding them captive. When in my opinion, it's not having the perfect plan that is going to generate the action. It's the action that's going to generate the perfect plan. Y'all have heard it said before, if you've been around this brand for any bit of time, but your action produces clarity. If you want to get clear, if you're looking for something that you don't know now that you want to figure out, take the action, take the first step and let that action give you the clarity. And then what's the destination that we want people to experience? Well, we want people to live every day on purpose. We want you to be able to show up at your place of work, in your businesses, with your family, in your communities, at church, at the gym. Show up in your life every day with a purpose, because every single day is a blessing. God's gifted us every single day when we wake up with a fresh day that we get to go out and experience the blessing of life. And why would we coast? Why would we passively go through the motions on a daily basis with that life? It doesn't make any sense. We need to be intentional. We need to live on purpose. And that's the goal, that taking the actions will actually give you clarity on how you can go out and do that. So our tagline, every mile begins with a step. I say it at the end of every episode. It is so true. If you have something that you want to accomplish, if you have this big vision, this big dream of a life that you want to build, it doesn't come by waiting until you have the perfect plan and waiting until you have all the steps in order. No, it's taking the first step and letting that step give you clarity, because maybe it's the right step, maybe it's the wrong step, but it's going to clarify something for you, whether if it's making an adjustment and pivoting or doing more of the same and continuing to build towards reaching that mile. So I know that was a lot. Hopefully that gives a little bit of clarity behind what we do here, what the purpose of the brand is, the mission we serve, how we go about doing that. And if you heard anything throughout this episode where you're like, I'd love to learn more about that, or I'd love to get involved in some capacity, then reach out to me on any of the socials. Shoot me an email, josh@letstakeastep.com. Go to the website, letstakeastep.com, to figure out how you can get connected, because I love and I'm passionate about what we get to do through Take a Step, and I see this growing, and I really see it's a fetus for the vision that I have for it. So I'm excited to bring whoever wants to come along on that journey, whoever wants to start taking action and pursuing a life where they get to show up every day on purpose. With a purpose. I'm excited to bring everyone along on that journey that I can. So thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Take a Step podcast. If you enjoyed it, guys, it goes such a long way. If you could leave a rating or a review, it really helps us to continue to grow this community so we can reach more people and change more lives for the better. So love you guys. Always remember that no matter where you are on your growth journey, every mile begins with a step.